On the 9th of February 2014, users of social networking sites worldwide exploded in outrage over the killing of Marius the giraffe at Copenhagen Zoo. What seemed to upset people most was not that the zoo put down the animal despite large-scale petitioning, but the fact that the 18-month-old giraffe was then dissected in public and fed to lions at the zoo. The zoo's scientific director said of the public dissection that it helps increase the knowledge about animals, but also knowledge about life and death. But where does this event that shocked masses come into science? To answer this, we must first address the question. The Oxford Dictionary definition of science describes as the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behaviour of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Society may tend to think of science as molecules, test tubes and crazy professors, but in actual fact science encompasses much more than that, covering things from how our body works to the changes in our environment to the molecular composition of everything we see around us. Science is what helps us to understand the world around us, and is used to try and figure out how to improve it. So, in these terms, could Marius's dissection be considered as science? Well, yes, it could be said it was, as it further educated the public, as well as the vets themselves, on the anatomy of a giraffe. The reasons behind Marius's death were also science-based. Genetics is defined as the study of genes, heredity and variation in living organisms, and is commonly used in zoos in their breeding programs that aim to keep numbers of various animals in captivity by breeding animals between and within zoos. Marius was euthanized as, due to his breeding, he was too genetically similar to many other giraffes in the program. Therefore, breeding Marius would have heightened inbreeding and, as a result, gave rise to rare and harmful mutations throughout the breeding program. This would cause health problems in the giraffes that would be more difficult to breed out. As Copenhagen Zoo was facing an issue with space regarding its giraffe population, they decided Marius would have to be killed. They refused other zoos' offers to take Marius on the grounds that, if they had room for another giraffe, it should be genetically viable in order to boost the giraffe breeding program. The issue of contraception was raised immediately, but zookeepers at Copenhagen Zoo stated that contraception for Marius would have decreased his quality of life, and that's not what the purpose of their zoo or their keeping of animals was. Marius was killed by a bolt gun, as a lethal injection would have tainted the meat. After his dissection, he was skinned and fed to the lions at the zoo. Although some argued this was wrong and barbaric, this was met with the argument that the zookeepers know what's best for their animals, and the lions are fed meat every day, so it doesn't make a difference what the meat is. The point was also made that Marius would have gone to complete waste had he not been eaten by the lions. As mentioned before, the public response to this story was enormous. The National Geographic story was shared over 6,000 times on Facebook, racking up over 7,500 comments, most of them in outrage over the zoo and its treatment of Marius, as well as calling for the zookeepers to be fired. Very few people viewed the public dissection to be educational or of interest to spectators, instead describing it as its barbaric nature and the horrors of dissecting an animal in front of children. The few who seemed to question the backlash wondered why, in a zoo where 20 to 30 animals are euthanized and dissected in public this way each year, all the fuss has arisen now. Is it due to the fact that Marius was an exotic species, or the fact he was young, or the fact he was perfectly healthy? There were 30,000 signatures on the petition to save Marius, and since his story went viral on the internet, a petition to close Copenhagen Zoo has almost 140,000 signatures. With the zoo now under tremendous scrutiny from society, this story goes to show how one story with a headline such as "Healthy baby giraffe shot in front of children before being fed to lions" can cause an uproar so quickly due to the ease of access to the media by society over the internet, and the ease at which people can voice their opinions be heard and spread news of a particular story. This story has been published in the media with very little reference to the science behind it, and the public do not ask for the science before making judgment. This is a classic example of the lack of science